So OBS is a tool that is used by online gaming streamers, people who stream to YouTube, people who want to do live podcasts, but I found it really useful as well for teaching. And the thing I like about OBS is it's a really quick way to bring together different medias, different things together into a single video stream. And that video stream, using the virtual camera plugin, can then be fed into Zoom or recorded if you then want to put it up on your VLE as a lecture. Now, depending on what kind of teaching you're doing, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, you may use it in different ways. But what's really good is, compared to editing all at the end, you can set it up so you get all the content together and you can shoot it in quick succession. So you don't need to then go back and edit loads. Or if you do, you can kind of film and then put in what slides and content. So when you do go back and edit it, you can just record that little bit. You don't need to record the whole video because the video's at one side the whole way through and your slides are there the whole way through. And it just takes some of the stress out of the system. In synchronous teaching, it means you can bring multiple sources, multiple cameras, multiple different programs. You can have slides and an app at the same time. I'll show you what you can do. I think it's super cool. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will tell you what other tips and stuff I've got as we go. This is what you'll get once you've installed OBS, or at least I hope this is what you get once you install OBS, just running on my Mac here. It might look a little different if you're on Windows, but it's mostly the same. And this is really where everything we're going to do is going to come together. Here we have a list of scenes, which we just have one called scene. And here we have an object called image, which I'm just going to delete because that was me just testing a moment ago. So now we have one empty scene. And this really shows why it's so useful, because we're going to add an image. And I'm going to call it holding slide, because it's the slide that we're going to use. So when people join our chat, it's there, and then we're just going to add that. And that's what I'm doing. So I just made this in PowerPoint and saved it. You can do something fancier if you want. This really shows this is just something to put up. This means you can block your camera off when you're not using it. For this, I'm going to start assuming you're going to just use your microphone directly in Zoom. So we can do audio in here, and I'm going to get to that. Slide 2 can be our PowerPoint. And these aren't really slides, they're more scenes. So what we're going to do in here, we're going to want to not display capture, we're going to want a window capture. And I'm going to call it PowerPoint. Now I have got PowerPoint already open in a different window. There you go. And hit OK. And there we have PowerPoint. And what's nice about this is I can click that bit on the side and I can move it around. I'm going to show you a little trick that I love about PowerPoint. So PowerPoint is actually on a different screen here, so you can't see my mouse at the moment. But I found this out, and I haven't seen many people show this. If you go to slideshow setup, and you then go to, you can't see the window that's popped up, but I get an option to, instead of presented by speaker, go browsed by an individual, and it makes it a window. And that means when I play from current slide, my slideshow now is just a window. And what I then just need to do here is switch this from here to a new window. Where's the window? Let's see what we'll just do. Switch it to there, and then switch it back to PowerPoint. What's happened there? That's lovely. That's lovely when computers go wrong. Right. Window capture, PowerPoint. Okay. Microsoft PowerPoint slideshow. Brilliant. Okay, there we go. So just having there, I just had to re-jig it slightly for some unknown reason. Okay, and as you'll notice, because I've run it in a window rather than full screen, which I think's a lot easier, we've just got this extra stuff on the top, but we have this lovely feature. If we hold down Alt, also Option on a Mac, you can just crop the thing down. So there we go. And when I go back to my PowerPoint, if I change the slide, it changes. That's brilliant. This is just an old academic talk, it's not anything particularly interesting. But say you wanted to give a talk alongside, so you can get that all set up. Something else you're doing, so what I was doing here, window capture, Safari, I can then go and grab a Safari, switch that back, got to make sure the window's there. There we go, it's not got the right window title, but there we go. And then we can do this, and this is my Google Colab. And for people who don't know, Google Colab's really nice. It's a way of running code in your web browser. So I can run my slides. It's going to get a little crowded, so you have to think about what you're doing, but actually I'm going to swap like this when you're doing it, because you need people to be able to see what you're doing, but you can change the priorities. And then again, if we wanted to, I could just crop the top off, and then now I can run my code on my website next to the slides explaining it. So I could just change slide, and literally what's happening is there's another monitor, which I'm not showing you, where I can do all this stuff. Now, last thing I'm going to do on this slide is I want video input, video capture device I think it's called, and we're going to call this camera 1. Okay, and the device I'm going to use is my EOS camera. So this is actually a SLR camera, so it's a little bit finicky sometimes, but it's up there. Hi. And you can't really see, you're seeing the side of my head because I'm looking into a monitor over here. But now what you can see is I now got a way to bring 3 things together. And what I can also do is switch it back to my other scene. So flip the scene, come back here, does a nice thing. Right, so that's one example. So now I've got this lovely setup where I can, use my PowerPoint, change the slides, I can go through this. With window capture, what's really nice as well is the windows can be on top of each other and it doesn't capture. So if you screen capture and the windows are on top of each other, you see the 2 windows overlaid. Here, the windows can be on top of each other and it only shows you what's in the window. So right, we've got that. Now, that means I can send that now into my Zoom when I want to, but I want something else. I've decided I want PowerPoint only, let's say, because that PowerPoint's looking a little small. And what I can do is go here, I can copy that, and then I can paste, and I'm going to paste a reference, and what that means is it's the same item. So all that cropping, everything comes across. So if you duplicate it, the settings aren't poured across. And sometimes you will, sometimes you won't, and you might want to play with that. And I'm going to copy my camera as well. And the nice thing is, paste the reference. That camera there, that picture you're looking at, now it doesn't turn it off in the background. So it's not like the camera has to re-turn on and off. So you can flick scene and it holds the camera. What you will notice is when I turn my head, the light reflects off me and it moves up the camera a bit. But that's my camera's issue. We can worry about that another day. I was going to add something else, and I say we're not capturing audio, we're just doing video. Audio is a little bit more complicated. We are going to add another video source. Oh no, not VLC, we don't want that. We want video capture device, there we go. And this is camera 2. And why is this useful? Well, I really like this. I have this thing called Epoch Cam, and you could have anything else. And there you go, look, that's me again. The lip sync will be slightly different on different cameras, but that's just because I'm doing too much in screen recording. Okay, you don't need that much me, I get that. That's probably too much on 2 different cameras. I don't know which one to look at. But what is useful about this is I got this one is actually my phone. That's what Epoch Cam does. And I can therefore you know, say, oh, do you want to look at this? So if I had a bit of paper, that's actually my tripod there. Ooh, that's the camera getting upset as I turn it upside down. You can then use your tripod to make this into something for, I'm sure you love looking at my nose, what you're writing on a bit of paper or what you're doing. So I could put this as an arm over what I'm doing. It doesn't need to be, I'm just using my phone because I don't have enough webcams to do this any other way. But I don't know which camera to look at. You could use anything. But I think for most of us, we have one webcam on our computer. I actually have an external, say an SLR. You can then use your phone to scan whatever bit of paper you're using. So that is really cool. And what's nice about this is when I switch scene, you can see it switches which camera is used immediately over. And then this, when the slide moves on, I can flick back and the slide's moved on there. So it's capturing different parts and putting them together. Now I said that we were going to use this in Zoom. So how do you do that? Well, under Tools, we have this thing called Start Virtual Camera. And to be clear, this may not be installed on your computer to start with. So I found it automatically installed. I've seen some people say they had to go and download it. If you search for Zoom Virtual Camera, you'll find a few options and you can install them. If you're on a PC, it appears under the Studio Mode, Start Streaming, Start Recording. I'm going to start Virtual Camera. Now, if you were just wanting to record to then upload as asynchronous content, you could just use that start recording and it will save it. All the settings are in the settings options. I'm just going to get zoom up. I'm going to get the zoom settings and I'm going to drag that onto the screen so you can see it. And this is where we can go down to here, video. And there you can now see OBS Virtual Camera. It is picking up the images I've got in. If I just go and change what scenes it's on, you can see that is changing what comes out my camera. So that's, I think, amazing. It's cool. It's brilliant. And audio, I'm using this thing called Black Hole. But this can, if you just set this to your microphone, it's nice and really, really simple, because if you set to your microphone, your voice is just being picked up by your standard microphone, yet all the video is coming through OBS. What this Black Hole thing I've got, the equivalent on PC is called virtual cables. I think that's the name it has. That is like a way of connecting audio and OBS to Zoom. Now, you may or may not want to do it, but I'm just going to show you how you do that. So if you go to Preferences, Stall Black Hole, Stall Virtual Cables on Windows, and you go to Output, Audio, there you go, Advanced, Monitoring Device, Monitors. You can also select your output, but I'm using the monitoring device here. That then means the audio from here is being sent to that black hole, which then you can pull in as a microphone on Zoom. I personally think that's probably more than anyone needs. I'm going to show you when you might want to do it because it is quite cool. So if you're going to do it that way, what you need to do is have a scene like this. You then need to add your audio input. This is your microphone, because now we're saying we want OBS to capture it and send it through that black hole or through that virtual audio cable. And then the device we would want to use is whatever microphone we are trying to use. So I'm just going to select this one actually, because that's what I'm using right now. Okay. And what we can now see is the microphone's appeared up here, and that means it's capturing. And that monitoring will go through. So if we then go to properties on this, sorry, it's not those properties, it's the properties on this, I think. Advanced audio properties. We can just turn monitoring and output. So that means all that monitoring is going through to that black hole. There's other ways to do it. You can send the actual output straight to black hole as well. I use monitoring. I find it works better for me. And then now the microphone's coming through, yet if I was to change scene, that microphone disappears. If you copy that and reference it like I did, so if we do this, paste that there, now the microphone's on that scene too. And why that's quite useful is that means that when you change scene, you can make the microphone turn off effectively. I still suggest you mute it in Zoom just to be safe, but you can have the microphone control itself, and that's quite neat. As I say, most of you probably just want to use Zoom directly on your microphone, but this is why you might want to put your microphone through, is if you do that, you can then start adding other things. And the thing I want to add, and this is a video, so I just want to install media. So when I say media, I mean literally, in this case, we're going to add some music. Okay, browse for the local file, and Bend Sound. So this is, if you haven't come across it, Bend Sounds is a great website where you can get royalty-free music. This is the website, and all they ask is you say you took it from them. You can pay for it, so you don't have to, but you just play music by Bend Sound on your thing, and you're allowed to use it. So that's what we're doing. And here's the volume control for that, and now it's now playing on here. And what you can do, so you can see it's playing away, is go properties. Sorry, I did that again. You want to go to advanced properties, and then I would put monitoring on it. That's how I would do it. That's why you can't hear it. You can also set lots of great things. So if you go to properties on here, tell it to loop, tell it to restart when you go to the slide, and it will just sit there playing music. And why people do that, why people really like that, let's add copy that onto the front slide. I don't know why you wouldn't normally want to do this, but I feel like I'm just talking to him. So why you might want to do that on your title slide is when people join your Zoom, you could then have music coming through that black hole or that loop back device. So I think that would be, for many people, it's quite nice. You probably want to turn the volume down. So that really is what I've been doing. And then what I have done is then I've linked these to hotkeys. So if you go to the settings, preferences, hotkeys, you can make it so PowerPoint is a key on your keyboard and it swaps over. That doesn't always work great, I will admit it. Sometimes I need to restart the program after setting them, but once you've tested them and OBS is running, you just leave OBS running and it works. And that is what I've been doing. So that's why I want to tell people I think this is quite useful. People can join, you can then switch over to the next thing, that's great. Last couple of things which might be really useful, and this is really for the audio geeks out there, filters on audio. These are something which are quite hard to do in some places, but really easy to do in OBS. If you're going through that black hole to virtual cable route into Zoom, you can add something called a noise suppressor, and that will get rid of any background air conditioning units, which I find annoying. You can also add a noise gate, which that basically won't allow the audio to start unless it gets to a certain level of audio. So it's quite good for using to remove, again, hums or background chatter. And the last one, which you may want to use, is this thing called a compressor. And all the compressor really does is it means if you get too loud, it starts to reduce the volume a bit. So it's really good at stopping you from overdriving the microphone. And I find it's quite useful to have those on. That's why I say I often do put all my audio through OBS now. But it does mean if you join your Zoom chat and you've forgotten you've done that and you don't have OBS open, nothing works because that monitoring isn't happening, that virtual camera isn't running, and you have to go and sort it. So it can make it a little bit more complicated, which is why, to start with, I highly recommend you just use the microphone in Zoom directly, and then you don't worry about these audio things. But once you've got that working, you can go back at it. The last thing I'm going to show you doing OBS, and this is not going to work very well, but if you are a person in Zoom and you really like your green backgrounds, or you sadly have to have a green screen for this, but you do have your chroma key option, and then what that will do is it will find a green screen. I don't have a green screen behind me, so it's not going to work. Color type, I can do a custom, and I'm going to pick a terrible color, and it's going to go horribly. Let's just go there. You know, my wallpaper's probably more that color, isn't it? And now I've completely disappeared. So now I've become transparent. And probably if yeah, I mean, get a green screen. But what's useful about that is you'll now see that it's gone transparent there. So if you wanted your face hovering in front of your slide, it can do it. It doesn't, as far as I know, yet have a non-green screen option, but someone may have made that filter. Let's get to it. I mean, there's loads. You can play with all of these. I don't think you'll want to though. I mean, why would you want to do that? I can, if that's fun, you can do that. Okay, so there we go. And you can now see that's all coming through to my Zoom. And when I call in Zoom, I have that. So I found that cool. Hopefully you found it too. That is, I think, the end of everything I wanted to show you. And I will just now switch back and chat to you the other way. But there you go. Hopefully you found that super useful. If there's anything else you want to know, drop me a message on Twitter. My handle is Andrew Holding, it's simple as that, or in the comments, and I'll try and get back to you. And I'll see if there's any other things I've learned or anything else I picked up that we can share and use to try and sort of help people with the adapting what they've already done over the last few years to bring it online. As I say, you can also use this tool to stream to YouTube, which might be really cool, or to Twitch. I'm not going to cover that today. The one thing I will say is there's a thing called a Stream Deck, and I'll put a link to Jamie Gallagher's video on why that's such a cool thing, but you can use it to flip the scenes of your OBS stream with buttons that light up and have labels on it, and it's really cool. But if you don't want to do that, you can just use the hotkeys in OBS and use letters on your keyboard. But it's a cool thing, and I think it's worth doing. The other things also apply. Good mics, good lighting, all those things really help to make your video look great. And I'll put some links to tutorials on that too. But thanks for listening. And as I say, if you found this useful, give it a like, leave a comment, and catch up with me on Twitter. Thank you.